Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest is an award-winning creative marketing professional with over 25 years of successes within the fragrance and flavor industry. She is the founder of Trendincite LLC, a consulting company. Her work experience includes fine fragrance, hair care, and personal marketing for 3 leading fragrance houses. She has been recognized by Women in Flavor and Fragrance Commerce Inc. for, get ready for this, 2011 Woman of the Year Award. With her and for her excellence in the marketing and leadership divisions is so phenomenal. She's a writer and public speaker. She writes the forward-thinking column in the Perfumer and Flavorist magazine and contributes articles to industry-specific trade publications. I am so excited to visit with her. Silhouettes, please welcome Amy Marks-McGee to the show. Hello, Amy. How are you?
Hi, Amber. I'm good. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Good. I told you before we really hit the record button how intrigued and excited I am to visit with you. So thank you for spending some time with us to share your Silhouette of Success story.
Sure.
All right. So generally, I always kick them off to kind of set the stage and set the visual, if you will. Start by sharing a little bit about the early shapings of your Silhouette of Success. Maybe go talk a little bit about your background and share with the audience.
So I went to school. I have a BFA in advertising and graphic design. But when I went to school, I went to Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. And I liked taking art classes. And in a senior in high school, they're like, oh, you have to go apply to an art program if you want to, take art classes. I'm like, well, I want to go to a university that has good art classes so I could enjoy it. And they're like, no, you have to get into the art school. So I did the portfolio and I got into the art school. But in my heart, I knew I was never going to be a fine artist. So went to school, studied graphic design and advertising. And when I was studying it, I realized that I wasn't a great artist. And if I could have like a graphic artist or a mock-up artist take my concepts and developed my concepts, creatively and visually, that was a much better fit for me. So I figured out that what I really liked about advertising was all the marketing aspects. Who's your target audience? Why are we selling this? How are you going to get their attention? It was really all about marketing. So I thought I wanted to be in advertising and I hated it. And then I quickly moved. I got a position in a company called Keds. You know the Keds sneakers that do with a little blue logo? I worked for a company that licensed the Keds logo to make casual, it was kind of the athleisure wear clothing concept before athleisure wear is what it is today. So I worked there in marketing and advertising with someone who took me under her wing for a little while. I worked there for a year and then I was looking for a full-time job. I thought I wanted to be in the travel agency. I wanted to travel. So it was at the time when you looked at the ads and you could go to an agency and they would place you for work, which they don't do anymore. So the guy I called and they said, come in. I thought it was a travel agency interview. I said, no, 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 we've got a job for you. Come in. I'm like, I'm not dressed for an interview. I'm wearing casual clothes. He's like, it doesn't matter. Come in. So I went, and the position was for a company in marketing, for the VP of marketing. It was international flavors and fragrances for marketing. And they said, we have this position for the VP of marketing. They make fragrances and flavors. They are the Fortune 500. They make, there was a fragrance called Joy, which was all fine fragrance. It was rose. And I didn't really know about the fragrance industry. So I said, okay, I'll try it. So I go in, I was there all day. I spent hours interviewing. I interviewed with the VP of marketing, the HR, market research. Anyway, long story short, they hired me on the spot. And that is when I fell into the fragrance and flavor industry. Stayed in marketing, loved it. And once you're in it, I know very few people who enter the fragrance and flavor marketing, or actually fragrance and flavor industry, knowing that they wanted to go in it, unless they're European and French and know that there's perfumery exists and evaluation exists. So I landed my first career at IFF, and if you're going to start in the industry, it's the perfect place to start. And I had fine fragrance training with this world-renowned evaluator, and I learned about women's and men's fragrance. So that was my stepping stone. And then I moved on to two other companies, and essentially the rest is history. What happened was, in the second company, I'd always wanted to go back to get my MBA, but I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And the second company I worked for, they had a reimbursement education program. So I had to go back for my MBA. So 7 years after working in fragrance for the second house, I went back for my MBA and did it in marketing and marketing management. So for the first 7 years of my industry experience, all the marketing I was doing, I didn't realize had names and titles, and such as a SWOT analysis, like, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So I would do that. I just didn't know that was the the real title. And so I worked for a small fragrance house, which was privately run. It was family business. I worked there for 5 years. And then the last position I held was at a company called Givaudan, which was another very large company. And so I had really good experiences. I learned a ton of information and how to market and what to do and what not to do. And then I had a child. I was pregnant. And I was kind of growing out of my position. And I said, "Ugh, what do I want to be when I grow up?" I wanted to have my own business. What did I want to do? So I wasn't getting any younger, and I could have easily gone back and gotten another competitive job. And when my daughter was born, I said I had a little more time to think. I was on maternity leave, and I'm like, either I start my business now, or I don't do it at all. And I was like, what do I have to lose? If it doesn't work, I'll just go back to corporate. And so I launched Trendincite 16 years ago in March. And essentially, I specialize in fragrance marketing, flavor marketing, and trend forecasting. And that includes being a marketer, a researcher, and a writer. So my customers are fragrance and flavor suppliers. So that's the side of the industry that I'm very familiar with. And then I also do some consumer packaged goods manufacturer work with, and market research firms. So does that make sense?
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's euphoric. Your your journey, the unexpectedness of that for you probably too, but how magical looking back and listening to you share that. What was your favorite house, one, two, or three? Without picking favorites, unless that puts you on the spot. No.
It kind of puts me on the spot. I
Okay.
learned so much
Yeah.
from each of them. Each one
Uh-huh.
had their own special, like, niche. Like, I thought one was great. They were really good at their content, and like they had the meat and the potatoes, but their visuals I didn't think were as fascinating. The second house was family run, so I was like kind of had so much experience from previous jobs that I really brought experience to the house and had a lot of creative freedom, and helped them set up a creative library for proactive accounts and helped them set up a smelling database. And I kind of used my like skills I learned at the big house to help a small house kind of put some of their kind of projects and administrative things that they needed to do daily that would help their jobs in place. And then the last house, they were just very, very creative. They were like the kind of best of both worlds. They were a big house, but they were very entrepreneurial in the way they did things. So I really had good experiences, all of them. The problem was outgrew my positions at each of them, and they never knew what to do with me. And then I would get really frustrated.
Yeah. Wow. So, as they say, art and science. So, you are able and fortunate to dabble in a lot of, like you mentioned, the analysis of things and your research, but then the creative, beautiful side of it too. Wow. Oh, how cool. All right, Amy. So, the alarm clock goes off for your work or business day. What does a day in the life look like for you? Are you very structured? Do you like routine, or do you have more of a spontaneous spirit about things?
I would like to say I'm spontaneous, but I'm not necessarily spontaneous. But I have two teens. I have a freshman in high school, a son, and I have a daughter who's a senior in high school. So she's in the process of doing the the college applications. So right now, we wake up in the morning, I get my teens off to school. Well, my daughter usually leaves earlier than my son. So I kind of get my son off to school. And then when they're out of the house, I go to my desk. So I work from home. So many entrepreneurs are really structured and they have the scheduled plans and they block out times for when they're going to work on things and when their phone calls are, and they're really structured. However, I'm not one of those entrepreneurs. I tend to jump around, and I jump around when I'm doing emails, when I'm writing, when I'm doing research. So for me, unless I have a really tight deadline, I spend most of my morning reading articles and press releases to see what's new and what's happening. And that really often helps me start kind of making connections and kind of seeing the trends. And then sometimes I'm inspired, like, oh, I want to write this trend article on this, or oh, I'm working on this trend presentation for this client. These type of examples would be great. And for the days that I have really tight deadlines, what I need to do for myself is I need to set time aside. So I do the Pomodoro method. Are you familiar with that?
No, share, please.
So essentially, you set a timer for an allotted amount of time that you're going to do a project or an exercise. So for me, I set about an hour, and I have to turn off my emails, I turn off my phone and I close everything. And the only thing I have open on my desktop is the project that I'm working on. And for an hour, I only focus on working on that. And then the alarm goes off, and after an hour, you can like take a break or you can do something like that you might enjoy, like a couple minutes. So it's trying to like kind of set time aside, and then I wouldn't say you get really rewarded, but at least you're focused. So I usually do that when I have a lot of different projects going on. When I do it, if I start working on a project, I'm really involved, then I tend to just stick with it and work on it for hours. Other times I'll say, okay, I'm working on this project. I set a time aside to do it and then stop that project and move on to the other project. Um, so it really depends. And some days, if I'm not home writing about trends, I might go to the city and check out some new stores, possibly go to a museum or an exhibit, maybe go to a new restaurant or a bakery, maybe try some new ice cream. It really depends. Now that New York's opened up again, I'm going to start going back to the city and exploring more.
So interesting. Thank you for sharing the method. Very beneficial, especially to have that mental break, I guess, in between. That is fantastic. And yes, getting some samples probably. Research, right? Can we label that research? A
Yep.
little enjoyment, delicious research. Oh my gosh, how neat! Who do you think? Because it's such a great career path. Who is there somebody or something that influenced you as you began down this career path? I know you talked about how you made your way into this particular branch of the industry of marketing and fragrance and flavors. But can you tie back anything? Was there anybody kind of mentoring or pushing you this way or encouraging you along?
So the funny thing is, one of the things I didn't have in business was a mentor. I had worked for three people. They were all very bright and very good marketers, but not necessarily very good managers. So I think part of the reason when I was in business in all these different places, I never had a mentor. And that's probably where I got frustrated because I never really had someone to say, "Hey, I'm frustrated. What do I do? What's my next move? How do I handle this, political situation?" But I did learn early on that without having a mentor, I could decide what I was not going to do in my own business, like what I didn't like about. It wasn't about the people, but it could be about politics or how things are run, or um, how things were handled. So I kind of, it was backwards. But by not having a mentor, I learned all the things I didn't want to do in my own business.
It's so interesting that you have clarity and you were able to see that and I guess maybe reverse engineer. I've not heard it articulated before, but I am with you in that. It was like you just took blinders off. Wow. Isn't that interesting that you were able to do that?
I mean, I would think to myself, but when I was working on trying to figure out my business, I was like, well, we go to a dry cleaner, and sometimes a dry cleaner does a great job. They give you your clothes back, and you're really happy. But sometimes a dry cleaner like loses your clothes, or like the stain doesn't come out, but they're still in business. Like people still keep going back to that, even if their service isn't great, right? And I can list a ton of examples, whether it's a restaurant where you had bad service, or you had to send the food back, or there was some other service. So I kept thinking, if all these service industries are out there and they can stay in business, and I'm creative and I'm organized and I know how to manage a project from A to Z, how come I can't do it? So part of the idea was, if other people can be in services and I don't think their services are so great, but I know I can offer a great service, that I'm going to try it, because what do I have to lose? And I think that also kind of goes back to not having the mentor. It's kind of trial and error.
What keen observations. Oh my gosh. They're taking this a whole different direction. Oh, wow. That is fantastic. Maybe similar to this line of thinking, not having a mentor, but working in trial and error. I like how you said that. When you get stuck, especially as a creative, how do you get unstuck? You talked earlier about maybe venturing out and museums. But if you've got a deadline or a goal and something kind of has you at that stagnant space, how do you get unstuck to reach that goal or dream?
So sometimes it is just going out and like stepping away from the problem or what I'm working on. Fortunately, I have a great supportive husband, also great family. I have a twin sister who works with me. So sometimes I'll call her and, start venting, or, oh my God, like I'm working on this, you know, so I'll get feedback from her. And then my mom is also my editor. So my husband's a high school English teacher. So my mom edits for like grammar and the miscellaneous things. My husband edits for, well, what do you mean by this? I don't think your audience is going to understand that. So I really have a good internal support system. I also have friends and colleagues still in the industry. Some of them are consultants and some of them still work for houses. So when I'm really stuck or feeling like I can't solve a problem, I have colleagues or friends I can reach out to in the industry and be like, "Oh my God, like, can I have your 2 cents on this?"
Okay, so yeah, you do have it covered with your internal support system. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very fortunate.
Yeah. Wow. Is there any clashing
Not
as
so
well with
much.
family? Yeah.
Not so much because, we were all work for, well, my husband's a high school teacher, so no one's in the house. I work out of the home, and my sister works out of her home, and so it's mainly like, I do a lot of writing, whether it's articles, it could be ghost writing for blog posts for clients, it could be a trend presentation, it could be market research or analysis. So a lot of it's more behind the scenes, so that's not an everyday interaction. So where other houses, which I'm always amazed, the fragrance and flavor industry, like other industries, has, it's very family oriented. And so, parents work with their kids, with cousins, with siblings, with aunts and uncles. And I was not used to that when I first entered the industry. Like IFF was very corporate, and then the small company Noville was family run. Like the president's daughters worked in the company. One of the founders, the son worked there, like grandson worked there. So that I think is an interesting dynamic. I don't know how families that work together and live together, kind of don't go home and talk about work.
It is interesting. And, some of the fashion houses or, different, those are coming to my mind as you're explaining this. So it isn't that far out there then, is it? Because there's a lot of that within the family owned businesses. Interesting. You have, and it's such a unique niche that you work in. Do you lean towards a specific or favorite topic to cover within what you do? Because your website is so cool and it talks about, how do you blend the food, with all your senses. Is there anything that you lean towards as a favorite?
So, what's a little unusual about Trend Insight and as a consultant is most people in the fragrance and flavor industry work on one side of the industry. So if you're in fragrance, you tend to work in fragrance, and if you're in flavor, you work in flavor. And when a person switches industries, the side, they always talk about going to the dark side because the houses do both fragrances and flavors, but they work as separate divisions and separate companies, completely run differently or separately. And I'm a foodie, and a lot of my best inspiration for ideas came when I was eating out or eating desserts because I worked on a candle accounts for years. And so, one of my favorite topics that I write about and do a lot of research on is this connection between fragrance and flavor and the overlap and all these multi-sensory combinations, and I don't understand why the houses don't do it more often. They used to not even talk to each other so much, and then they do some projects together, but I don't think they use each other's resources as much as they should. So I really love the overlap of both fragrance and flavor, and I do work on both sides of the industry. So some clients are strictly fragrance, some are strictly flavor, and some do both. So for me, it's like looking at both of them and pulling the insights together. And there's a lot of fun like collaborations going on right now with a lot of limited edition scented products that are inspired by iconic food and beverage brands and flavors. And I love those collaborations and I love seeing creativity in the field like that. So I would say multisensory fragrance and flavor overlap.
Very cool. We mentioned in the intro your amazing Woman of the Year award. Talk to us about maybe your most cherished successes, whether it's personal or professional. What is something you're most proud of?
So for me, from a client perspective, I do a lot of writing. And one of my things I'm so proud of is when I send a draft into a client and they come back with no edits and they're happy as is. So, from a client perspective, I really enjoy that. From a personal perspective, I feel my best when if I'm writing something and I'm really getting intrigued and interested in the research that I'm doing, and I start making the connections, particularly fragrance or flavor or just whatever the trend is, and I can kind of bring it down into a funnel and be like, oh, this is clearly the trend. This is the connection I see. And when I make that connection, I am really excited that I made the connection that maybe other people don't see right away, or I help people see that connection. So I really enjoy that aspect of work.
It's so rewarding, I'm sure. And not having any edits come back. Come on, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I did that was crazy. One of my early clients, I was ghostwriting for a market research firm, and I had to write a fine fragrance women's report with lots of number crunching and lots of data. And it was like 100 pages. I've never written in my MBA and undergrad, I'd never written so much. It was almost like writing a thesis. So I'd never done it before. So I sent it to them and they didn't have any edits. Any of the edits they had were like stylistic, but nothing about the content. And the editor said to me, this is the first time in her career that she had ever seen anything written like that without having tons of edits. So that was the beginning. And then fortunately, now I still get products back or in drafts back that say they have no edits.
That's outstanding. That would be one of those mic drop moments in your head, at least, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
Like, oh, dancing by yourself in the room when you're getting that call. Oh my gosh, good for you. Amy, we're going to take a quick break to hear from this episode sponsor. We'll be right back.
Is it time to sell your home? Build that dream home? Right sized? Or are you ready to invest in real estate? Couture Real Estate Firm is a local female-owned independent brokerage laser-focused on services exclusively tailored to our clients' real estate goals. With our forward-thinking business model, we have a fully mobile luxury real estate concept allowing convenience, flexibility, efficiency for our clients in style. Amber Weitzer, broker-owner of Couture Real Estate Firm, has over 20 years in the real estate industry and is a second-generation broker. She provides straightforward business practices, integrity, and intelligence with a commitment to a high-touch, consistent customer service experience. We take great pride in our reputation as a strong, referral-based brokerage. Discretion, tenacity, respect, and proactive business practices have earned Couture Real Estate Firm a loyal, repeat client business with a trusted global partner network. We strive for ultimate client satisfaction with successful results, doing it with class, consciousness, and a little avant-garde. In addition to serving our clients and vendor partners, we are extremely honored to be actively engaged in supporting the communities we serve by promoting small businesses, schools, and nonprofits. Real estate is direct sales business at its core, and we are highly trained sales professionals with the Mike Ferry organization, adding dimension to the industry. Passionate about customer service, dedicated to client satisfaction, and driven to achieve successful results for our clients. Call Couture Real Estate Firm today at 817-233-7239 to discuss your real estate goals.
And we're back. All right, Amy, it has been, I'm looking at the clock. I do dread when this time comes. We have to start winding down. It has been amazing and just awesome learning what you do and about your silhouette of success and visiting with you a little bit today. And as we start to wrap up and wind down, keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience, do you happen to have a piece of key go-to advice that you'd like to share with the audience that maybe resonates with you, or maybe words of wisdom that you live by? Anything you'd like to share?
Yes. So
Super.
a long time ago, I don't even know what house I was at. I'm not sure I was even at a house. Someone told me that you need to create a success file. And I was like, a success file? And they're like, yes. So a success file is essentially a place where you keep your thank you notes, your emails, client testimonials, colleagues send you a letter or an email saying, hey, that was great. It could be a friend, mentor, any type of positive feedback that you get. Doesn't matter who it's from. You keep a success file. And when you're having a really bad day or you're really feeling doubtful about your business or possibly yourself, it's a great resource to look back at. And it really acts as a reminder to help reinforce your value. So I recommend doing a success folder or a file.
How full is your file? I can only imagine.
I've been pretty bad. I haven't been printing it out and putting it in my file recently, but I do it electronically now. And I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's pretty full. I really, when people say, thank you, that was a great presentation, or I really enjoyed this. I learned so much. I put it in there. So I'm very, very grateful.
Oh, that is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. So I think everyone needs to follow her words of wisdom there. All right, milady, the stage is completely yours now. Where can our audience go to find and connect with you on your socials or website or anywhere you want to share and support you in your continued success?
My website is trendincite.com, but it's spelled TRENDINCITE.com. So it's like Incite a Riot. So trendincite.com is my website. I create trend articles. So I have a trend article tab that if you want to sign up, you can just sign up for my monthly newsletter. And I also have tabs that show past presentations I've done for industry events if you want to see some of my trends I've put together. And I also have a section on articles that I've written for the trade. For social media, I'm most active on LinkedIn, and it's under my name, Amy Marks-McGee, and it's MARKS-MCGEE. And I also post my content on Twitter, and my handle is Trendincite, spelled the same way as my website.
Perfect. And so the audience remembers. And so, we will make sure and have all of those links in the resource section of the show notes so they can just click and find you so easily. Amy, it has been a genuine pleasure. Thank you for spending some time with us and sharing your silhouette of success. You are a true delight and inspiration for us all.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my story.
Thank you. All right, milady. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.